Welcome, everybody, to the inaugural episode of the Diary Room. We are here to get this project started. We are going to be talking through 6 players in Big Brother history today, matching them up 2 at a time, sending 3 players through to the next round, leaving 3 players behind, all at random here as this Big Brother bracket begins. Of course, I am Matt alongside Aman. Aman, what's up?
Hey. Oh my God. I'd like this is so crazy because Matt came up with, the idea to do this podcast. I want to say a mere 2 weeks ago, and we are already hitting the ground running. Shout out to Matt Lagore because like he really was, the architect behind a lot of the things that just got done. We have our feeds up and running, we have our logo, we have our theme music. It's just been a whirlwind. We have our first guest, which Matt ascertained. You guys are about to hear him in just a second. But yeah, just I'm super excited to do this. This is going to be such a wild ride, and I'm anticipating lots and lots of drama, which I live for because I'm messy. So
Yes, it's
here we
going to
are.
be a lot of fun. And as you mentioned, we do have a guest with us here today. Joining us as our first ever guest, it is Big Brother 25 alumni, Cory Wurtenberger. Cory, what's up?
Not too much. Big Brother 25 alumni and future winner of this
Oh,
bracket, Cory
Ooh,
there we
Wurtenberger. I
go.
just want to, first of all, it's an honor to be the first guest. Super cool. And I just want to say I'm dedicated to objectivity, with the sole
Mhm.
exception of if I draw my own name, in
Yes.
which case I'm going around to.
The odds are not in your favor to draw your own name out of the 532 players that are available in this bracket, but you never know.
But the
if it
odds were not
happens, I will die.
in Cameron's favor to get drawn for the veto.
That is true.
Hey, well, possibilities are endless. That's one of the reasons why I'm like super excited about this show. So, hey, I want it to happen at least once, and if it happens with our very first guest, that would just be amazing. So, we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
We'll
And
see.
Cory, I felt like you were a perfect person to be the first guest here because your Twitch stream has been popping off with various like Sporkle quizzes and running games and whatnot of just like kind of like peeking your head back through Big Brother history in a very like sporadic way. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so I love this type of stuff, the nerdy ranking and the different stats and everything. In Sequester, I have my little notebook and I listed every Big Brother house guest I could name, rated them all S tier, A, B, C, D, F, made my top 50, uh,
Wow.
and then like halfway through Sequester had to alter my top 50 because I had a change in perspective. Um, I love doing this stuff. Ultimately, I think the beauty of a lot of these conversations are they're very insignificant and unimportant, but you can still get very heated in debate about them.
Yes.
Um, and I
That's the goal.
imagine it could get very personal if someone like Davon is drawn, for example.
Mhm.
Um, but I think this is right up my alley. I'm super excited.
Yeah, Mon, what'd you say about don't get mad if your faves go home? I mean, look.
I reserve this. Hey, this is my show. I reserve the right to get pissed. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, absolutely. That's what the whole point of this exercise is. We have been alive as far as, this being out there, Amon, for about 24 hours or so, and already gotten a very nice response from a lot of people. Some subscriptions are coming in on YouTube. People are, checking out the feed. So we really appreciate that. And hopefully that keeps on rolling as we get this project underway. We didn't get to say this in yesterday's episode, but a big shout out to Steph for the artwork that you see on your podcast feed, Twitter, YouTube, all that
Beautiful.
stuff. It's incredible. And shout out to Glances for the music that you hear when you listen to this on Spotify, YouTube, not YouTube actually, and Apple, all those places. So shout out to them. But Aman, what else do we have to set up? We were going to ask Cory a couple questions before we got into things.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Besides talking to Corey a little bit about like, this is I love the fact that we have you here, Corey, because you're from the very latest season of Big Brother. Season 26 is right around the corner, but you guys are still the reigning cast, as it were. And so I don't know, who are you hoping to see that might come up besides yourself?
Look, anyone from 25 would be a great time, of course.
Mhm.
I think my favorite seasons have to be 25. I'm a huge season 20 fan. I'm a secret massive season 19 fan. That
Whoa, wait, go further in there.
Yeah, season 19, I'm curious. I think there's going to be 2 people who make it out of the first round, unless they get
Okay.
very likely charitable matchups. I think you
And
could
that's
get a Paul and
including probably the returnee.
well, you got to. Christmas and Josh, if they get a good matchup, could make it to round 2. But outside of that, I think it's tough. So I think that's generally who I'm hoping for. Honestly, I kind of don't give me Dan, Will, Derek, Cody, Andy.
Boring.
That doesn't like we know how that's gonna work. I want some out like give me Alex Willett versus somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready.
We already had OTT as our sample
Yeah, we did a sample
draw.
draw, and we got somebody from OTT. So
Who'd you get?
Shane.
Wow, I have a lot of Shane opinions
Do
from
you?
OTT. None.
You were watching OTT live at the time?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I think was that so you think you could podcast maybe? Like I
It
remember
was.
yeah,
Amon,
that
Amon
was
knows all too well.
yeah,
yeah, that was a shit show of a show. The podcasts were a shit show in the best way. That was a great time to be a Big Brother fan.
Corey, the
I remember
funny.
my mom was furious at me because I like voted on her behalf for Morgan
Oh.
when she was a Jason fan.
Oh,
Oh my God.
okay.
This
Yeah,
is
that's
like
kind of
coming
brutal.
out with like political opinions.
Hmm.
Wow, we have a Morgan fan.
A ball
Look,
smashers guy.
um, there was a lot of contention at the time. I will say at the time I was voting with the late night jamboree. If we're all coming out publicly here,
We are
Amon.
Chrissy
I,
vote him on.
well, okay. Actually, I never voted. I
Mm.
actively cheered for a certain side of the house, but I never voted. I don't know why. I don't vote for. Well, that's not true. I do vote for America's Favorite House Guest whenever there's somebody that I
10
actually
times a
really,
day.
really care
Yeah.
about. So that really just Devon and
Thank you, Emma.
EX.
Appreciate it.
But other than that, like I didn't really vote at all for OTT because I just felt like it was so contentious. It was such a time, and I'm hoping that energy doesn't seep into the upcoming season of Big Brother because we are in an election year again, so we know how that kind of thing goes. But I'm really excited for 26. Are you excited for 26? Are you ready to pass on the torch to the next set of house guests, Corey?
Yeah, I'm pumped. I think like a lot of people, I would imagine, like on Survivor, like the most recent season of a show, kind of dread it because you lose your relevancy. I feel like as someone who like truly loves the show and loves talking about the show, and I do my streams and I'm on the podcasts and whatever, like I feel like this is a great thing for me. I feel like I have something to talk about because I can't sit on
Right.
stream and relitigate the Izzy flip again. Like I can't.
Yeah.
It's too long. I do have a question for both of you that I think is probably relevant to everyone watching. What is the criteria we're using? Is this we're simulating 100 seasons? We're looking at their body of work in modern BB in every kind of Big Brother season? Like, what are we doing?
I think it's going to be very flexible. I think the criteria is going to shift with each matchup and each episode. For me, I feel like what it's going to come down to, unless like there's going to be ones that are obvious. Some of the names that you mentioned, you're like, oh, don't give me those names today, because some of them we know are going to, end up going far into the bracket, and that's fine. But when it comes down to it, like, when we had for the example one that we had, that was Shane from OTT and Victoria from BB16, like at a certain point, I'm going to just be thinking in my head, well, suppose both of them were back for BB27 All Stars. Who am
Yeah.
I picking first in the draft when those are my only two options? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, and we put this caveat in the preview, but a good spot to put it here again. So thank you, Corey. Is that we are not claiming to be the experts. We are not claiming to be the people that know everything about every single moment of these people's games. We watch them, and we may have not watched them in a while. We may rewatch some things along the way in clips and stuff, but we are gonna, have certain things to remind us about these players between the three of us, whether it's Corey or anybody else that's with us. We'll all remind each other about as much as we can from each of these players. But it's really, at the end of the day, I would say vibes.
Yeah. It's very much a collaborative effort. Everybody that's going to be joining us is going to, like Matt said, is going to have a wide array of, subjectivity and proclivities about like what they value in Big Brother players. Again, this is like the best Big Brother player ever. Whatever that means to you, like, some people are going to go early. There might be the opportunity for some people to come back into the matchup. So it really is like, it's a living and breathing bracket. Okay. Like everything is very, very fluid. And don't be afraid to, like, if you have an unpopular opinion, that's fine. Stand 10 toes down on it. Fight for that. Cause like somebody might get swayed. So I'm really, really excited. And I think vibes is the perfect way to put it. Like, what do you remember most from that player? Like what did you value? What did you feel when watching that player on the feeds or in the episodes? Were you rooting for them? Do you think that they had a rough shake? Do you think that they had it too easy? Just try to remember all of those things and make your decisions. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be tough, but it's gonna be fun.
Our friend Andrew over on Gleek of the Week, where again we got the inspiration for this bracket idea from, always says, "I'm looking for a fight. If we can get a fight out here, and there's a 1v1, and maybe we're trying to sway the third person on the call, that's where the best of this is going to come from." So,
yep,
that's what we're looking for.
Ding, ding, ding.
Cory, and then our question for you that we may, if this works, if this is a good enough question, we're going to see if we ask anybody that is in your shoes, a fellow alumni. As we are here in this podcast, The Diary Room, we want to ask you about any memorable diary rooms or times that you had in the diary room while you were in the house.
Oh, yes.
Well, okay, there's a couple frustrating moments I've had in the diary room. The entire season, as a huge fan of the show, I'm pushing like, guys, I have some great ideas for like duo DRs. I think America and I, we have some funny stuff we can do. Even me and me and Jared had some whatever. And they're like, we'll talk about it. We'll try to figure it out. No problem. Okay. It's never figured out. I go to the jury. And then I hear on finale night, Matt and Jack were in there in their aprons with the barbecue, with the spatulas. I'm like, you gave the Minutemen duo DRs?
Wow.
Furious. And then the rest of the time in the DR, first of all, they wake you up at like 3 a.m. sometimes. Like me and Matt in America, we usually the last ones they would call. And I went in there once and like I look dead, like my eyes are asleep clearly. And they tell me to go wash my face, and I have like a tantrum in there. I'm like, I look fine. I look in the mirror, I look dead. I'm like, I look fine. I know I look fine. They're like, go, you like trust me, we're a producer. They're being calm with me. We're a producer, you gotta go wash your face. I'm like, I'm not leaving this room and walking to the sink. I will go back to bed.
If I leave this room, it's out the other door.
Well, it was like a lot of that, and then when it came to the twists, they would ask me like, "So, what do you think about Zombie Week? It's crazy, right?" And then I would be like very negative about the twist, and they'd be like, "Okay, can we get a version where you're more shocked than disappointed?"
Right. I can't believe it's Zombie Week.
Yeah. I'm like, it's a first. Is like what I give them.
Right.
But, I think the way the DR works for so many people is like people who are more confident in like their voice and maybe more familiar with the show feel comfortable giving things in their words, like their version, whereas other people are maybe more partial to the phraseology that is given to them.
Right.
So I just remember a lot of give and take. Like I was always kind of pushing, and I think that annoyed them in moments, but also made good DRs and others. So.
Yeah. One of my favorite segments at the end of each season on the finale night is when we get the montage of tears. Were you part of that? I don't remember.
No. I never cried in the DR. I've cried in the well, I might have cried in the DR during some of the Luke stuff, but I don't think that was gonna make the show.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot.
Interesting. It's I mean, it's always so cool to hear these stories because I mean we know it's a TV show. We know that it's produced in a lot of the time, but it can be like so sobering to hear, past house guests really talk about like just how much they really are trying to force a certain type of vibe out of certain people. And it's just like, I mean, I understand that they have a job to do, but at the same time, it's just like let the people be the people and you're gonna get good DRs regardless. So
yeah, I think it's like I think it's less trying to they have boxes they try to fit people into that they assume they're going to be pregame, and then when that changes sometimes they have trouble adapting, especially because they've already shown 6 weeks of episodes that contradict who you actually are. But I think like they always ask you what you actually think and then try to build something from there, so you're very rarely hearing like lies in the diary room. Granted,
right,
like Derek Levasseur, like sometimes it does happen. But at least in my case, it wasn't. BB's not rigged. Like it's not scripted.
Right.
But obviously there's pieces of it.
Right.
Well, Aman, unless you had anything else, I think we might be getting down to it.
Are we ready? Are we ready to go?
I think we might be ready. Well, let me share my screen here, and I ask everybody involved here and the audience to be patient with me as we nail down the process of all of this. It is our first episode. I'm going to get ready to share my screen here as we are doing this in a slightly different way. Not Aman, we were going to copy absolutely everything from Andrew, but instead of the cup, as of right now, we are working on the wheel. Now, can we all see the wheel?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so
The key wheel of names, baby.
with a
I'm
key
looking for me.
wheel is back. Corey, you're probably, I see Cameron. Of course, Cameron comes before Corey.
I can
Um,
barely see it. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, it's small. So we already said this as well in the preview podcast that anybody that comes on, Corey, or literally anybody that comes on, we are asking everybody, what seasons we're good with, so what seasons we're not. We don't want anybody coming on and having to talk about a player that they haven't seen literally ever or in a long time. So while there are 532 players in general, there are not five, or in overall BB BBUS, all the in-betweens. They are not on this wheel. With that all said, I think it's time to spin and get our first player.
Oh my god.
Yay. Oh my god, this is so exciting.
So we've done the trials, we've done the test spins, but it's time to get the first player on the board here for this bracket. And Aman, are you ready?
I am ready.
Corey, we're
Spin
good to
it,
go. All
baby.
right.
Let's do it.
Let her rip.
A lot of people probably a little triggered by this wheel. This wheel is infamous in our world.
Yeah, the wheel that
The
must
first
not be named.
player.
Oh, SPB20. Wow.
Corey
Okay.
wants it some
Haley
BB20.
Brocker.
All right. I
Okay.
like this one.
Haley is up first. Now, Aman,
Wow.
do you have the reminder of we
Of
I
who
don't know,
Haley
I think we
Brocker
might have said
is.
this. Yeah, we pulled a lot from the Big Brother wiki to kind of look at their intro text of each player's page to say
Mhm.
what do we need to remember about what happened with this player. So what about Haley do we have?
Yeah, so shout out to the Big Brother Wikia page and all of those that updated. We are definitely going to be relying on you guys heavily. But Haley Brocker, BB20, best known for her showmance with Fessel. Haley was a part of the ill-fated Falte Alliance. In week 6, she won the hacker comp, but when level 6 member Angela backdoored her close ally Bailey, Haley called a house meeting where she revealed that she was the hacker instead. She unintentionally caused the fight between Bailey and Tyler, resulting in the former's eviction. Despite getting nominated next to her allies, Fessy and Scotty, she escaped eviction both times. She was the last Falte member left standing. She was evicted in a unanimous vote of 4-0, placing 7th. On finale night, she was a finalist for AFP, but she lost to Tyler. And
So
that's
just
the
to
story
get
of
right
Haley
into
Brocker.
it, Corey, I am so surprised that we've not seen Haley since, whether on the challenge and X on the beach. Obviously, there was she has a famous reality TV X in the person she was with on the show.
Yeah. The challenge is wild because at that point in the challenge history, they had every single eligible Big Brother house guest on. Big Brother 20, I mean, they had Tyler, Angela, Swaggy and Bailey, Casey, of course. Like they had everybody.
Her
Every
name
So
member.
came
that is
up.
shocking.
Yeah, her name had come up at times that she was possibly being or thought of, but she obviously it never came to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they didn't think she had like the physical profile for it, but it's
Oh,
she's fine. I'm sure
they
she's
cast
athletic. She can do it.
they
I
cast
mean, I feel
everybody.
like they're much more harsh about that thing with the guys, you know? Like, I don't watch the challenge too much, but
Yeah.
I feel like they cast small girls that aren't necessarily like, comp beast all the time on that show. So
Mhm.
I'm surprised. I tend to think maybe it has more to do with the fact that maybe she just she was in school at the time. Maybe she just wanted to finish out her degree and everything. And it just, I think maybe it's one of those things where if you say no once, they're not going to ask you again. So I don't know. I don't know. If anybody has
I
any behind the scenes tea on Haley, let us
I
know.
still want Haley back.
This is such a sad double eviction. Oh my God.
I know it was a
Oh yeah,
mess. It was truly a
Deflating.
mess.
big time.
Truly a mess. The
All
hackers
right.
was really screwed everything up. Like Big Brother 20, still one of the best modern seasons ever. Best pre-jury ever. And it does lag, but it's mostly because of the hacker twist, not because of the house guest. So BB20 is always going to
Yeah.
be that girl.
Haley Browker. I can't
I
say
think
it.
it's Brocker.
Brocker.
I think it's
Good luck
like
with me and
Rocker.
all these last names. So I mean, obviously the victim of a horrible alliance.
Yeah.
Being a part of Faute is obviously what that side is always going to be known for here. By the way, I'm gonna share this graphic, and here's Haley. Look at that.
There she is.
7th place finish.
Iconic
56.
photo. Iconic photo. She's
So
stunning. She really is. She's a stunning girl.
yeah, like what is she not back on TV for? But I think honestly it did have I think it really just came down to personal choice of her declining things, if I remember correctly. But if she came back, I feel like a lot of people were talking about that she would full on be like a winner pick coming back on future season.
Well, I think this is often forgotten about Haley. I think she was 20 going on to the season. I
She
think
was young.
like so how she does, like, and I went on at 21. I thank God for every year I did have. I can't imagine being even younger. So I think like as
Yeah.
a returnee, like, okay, so you have Haley now at 27, 28, probably prime Big Brother age.
Right.
Yeah, I think you'd have to bet on her.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I think Haley's a decently solid player in terms of like socially, not a comp beast, but you don't necessarily have to be. I think that she had a pretty good head on her shoulders. I think that she was probably probably one of the sanest members of the Falte Alliance. I think that she really did try to keep things together after Bailey left, and things just, as we have already stated, kind of got away from her due to the twist and everything. And the fact that Tyler at that point just had such a stronghold on the house that it really was an uphill battle. But, seventh place for the position that she had is not bad. And I do think that she probably places pretty well on another season if she returns. I know that she was like one of the people that people really wanted to see come back for BB22. So yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see who she gets matched up with. Like, I feel like my bias is already showing for BB20. I feel like no matter who comes up next, she's probably gonna go through. But we'll see. We'll see.
One thing I wanted to, if the computer capabilities would allow me to, with everything I'm looking at here, pull up was the BB Wiki always has some interesting trivia as well, and facts like it's telling us about how the exact date where she announced that her and Fessy broke up, July 14th of 2020. I don't know why I thought it lasted.
Wait, they lasted that long?
I thought
Jay
it was
lives in
longer.
infamy.
Wait, because this was BB20 is 2018, correct?
2018, yeah.
Damn,
So,
I thought
2 years.
they like were like done like maybe like 3 months after the house after they got out of the house. Interesting. Okay, good for them.
She's the youngest house guest on BB20, as we were just kind of talking about. She's the first house guest to win the hacker competition, the first house guest to nominate the same person twice in one eviction cycle, having nominated Casey twice under her first HOH reign in week 7 due to the hacker twist. And also, as we talked about with the Tyler vote, she's the only Faute/Sacred Six Alliance member on the jury that voted for Tyler to win.
And and she was one of the only people that was like actively going against him. Like, she kind of like lost a little bit of steam. But I remember being so proud of her because I was like, she was straight up just like, Tyler, like, no, everybody is upset about Tyler being on the block. He has to go. But, just didn't work out.
I think you have to give Haley so much credit because something I learned from being in the house is playing from a poor position is impossible. Like, the best players can do it, but it's so much harder than playing from a good position.
Right.
Haley was in a bad position the entire game, was the last one from her alliance to be evicted. She's like weathers the storm. And this is something that I think from outside the house as like podcasters, and I'm sure I'll be saying this season, it's so frustrating when you have someone in the minority alliance win HOH and then get rid of Scotty, for example, right? Or, Cameron trying to get rid of Jag and Blue or something. Haley put up Casey and Angela.
Yeah.
And then she renommed Casey. Like, she did everything she could and she lost Rockstar that week. So to know you're in the minority alliance, to know the move to make, to actually make the move, I give her a lot of credit. Yeah, she screwed up the Scotty thing, but we could blame someone else for that.
Yeah. And
I love Rockstar calling out the twist too. It was like, she was like, I think Julie asked her, she's like, so who do you blame for your eviction? And Rockstar was like, I don't know, whoever came up with that hacker twist. So I was like, yes, call them out.
yeah, I mean, Haley, without some of the people that she was aligned with and, being on the opposition of one of the, if not, the strongest alliance in the history of the game, could be a completely different player. So we're definitely starting off with a, you could say middle of the road, but like with a lot more upside than a lot of other picks would have.
Honestly, sure. I think what you all are going to find out, and I'm curious what you think. I think a vast majority of Big Brother players are actively bad. So I think if Haley's like a middle of the road, has some pros, has some cons, that might be like a top 60, 70 player by the end of it.
An interesting concept to follow along with.
I think that's pretty accurate, Cory.
Most are bad. I mean, if I look at your season,
you got 3 to 4 arguably okay if you're being generous to me.
You did like, the tier list of gameplay from your season. That was not wrong. Not so all right, would we like to find out who Haley is matched up against?
Please be
Let's do it.
The other side of this first matchup, we are about to find out if Haley's going to be, well, after some discussion, if Haley's going through to round 2 or if this person will send her out in round 1. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Round and round the wheel goes. The wheel spin probably, could use the ticker for the audience at home not watching, podcast.
But
And we
does it not have the ticker sound?
Oh
Oh my
my
God.
God.
It was so
What?
close. Corey, that was so close
Yeah,
to the
I
person you
saw
said
it.
earlier. It was almost on Zach. But not Zach from
Wow.
BB8. We are starting off crazy
Damn.
here. Danny
That's tough.
Donato.
Damn. Are we serious right now? You rigged this. You rigged this, man.
You watch that wheel spin round and round. We are not starting with the rigged accusations in matchup 1. Danny Donato, please go to the diary room.
Is a good. It's a controversial player in terms of like how good is Danielle? I guess Briones, right?
Yeah,
I think it's Briones.
Danny
Yeah.
Briones now.
Yeah.
All right. So
And
should I start with her Big Brother 8 Wikia entry?
There's a lot to get to. I mean, I don't even know which clip to go to. We want to watch some BB8. I guess maybe we go to her most recent appearance.
Let's
we
start
know,
there. Let's start there and go
yes,
back.
but you talk through what we need to be reminded about Danny Briones.
Okay. Danielle Briones. Why? Wait, hold on. Is she not showing? Oh, wait. Oh, it's all in one on her. Okay, so I'll just go through her whole biography. Okay, so Danielle first competed on BB8 alongside her estranged father, Dick. While managing a tumultuous yet beneficial relationship with Dick throughout the season, she was able to win several comps, 2 HOHs, and 5 POVs, which helped her and Dick reach finale night. She came in second place as she lost to Dick while receiving 2 votes to win. Danielle returned for BB13, where she was partnered with Dick once more. After Dick left the game, Danielle was given a golden key, allowing her to stay safe until the final 10. Initially entering the house as a part of the Veterans Alliance, she eventually defected from this alliance to team up with newbies Portia and Kalia. She also had a season-long feud with eventual winner Rachel. Deemed as a massive threat by her former allies, she was evicted during the first half of the first double eviction by a vote of 3-2, placing 8th and becoming the second member of the jury. In Big Brother 22, Danielle was a key member of the dominant The Committee Alliance. After becoming the HOH week 6, she targeted ally Tyler for throwing her under the bus the previous week. Danielle decided to patch things up with Tyler and nominated former ally Ian. She became the first victim when the committee had to turn on themselves, as she was nominated by Tyler against her ally Nicole and was evicted unanimously.
But we'll cut it off there. I think that this is especially interesting because we're talking about a player here who has, had 3 shots at it. Obviously, one time in front of the jury, but there's a lot of circumstances around that, being next to her dad, being as young as she was, and probably not as likable as you might want in a winner. I'm not, I wasn't there at the time watching live, but I imagine that had a role in people not voting for her, among other factors. Danny is an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as far as BB22 is concerned, I felt like, the big consensus when it came to her game was that a lot of people just were expecting, they did not want this blonde, mature Danielle Briones. We wanted the black hair from BB13. We wanted I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm going to defect from the alliance if I want to, and you're just not going to be able to do anything about it. Like, they wanted that badass Danielle, and I felt like BB22, she was so gun shy with a lot of the things that she had going on. The whole trying to get Tyler out and then reneging on it, but you can't really unring the bell at that point, which is why he put her ass up anyway. Like, it was just a lot of flip-flopping, and then aligning yourself with Nicole, the queen mother of all snakes. It was just a really not the best showing for her. So I feel like that takes it leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths when it comes to her gameplay. But up until Big Brother 22, because Big Brother 22 is like, it is what it is. I feel like up until then, I feel like largely her arc, as it stated before, was, she was known as like a comp beast. She was feisty. She didn't care. She was ready to fight. She was a force. She was a force.
Yeah, I think it really is a tale of 3 seasons. On her first season, she makes the deepest run and is probably like the biggest non-factor of her 3 seasons, even though she's that's her compy season. She
Yes.
had 7 of her 10 wins there. And those are like critical wins. Like they needed every one of those to keep themselves alive, even with, Eric as AFP or what was it? America's
America's
favorite.
player,
America's player.
America's, yeah, there it is.
not the favorite player at the
Um,
at that time.
no, no, no. The Big Brother 22 game, I think, is where I have the most problems because I think it's almost an overcorrection from BB13. BB13,
For
she's
sure.
going against the majority.
Yep.
And Rachel, who sticks in the majority, ends up winning that season. BB22, she's like, okay, let's adopt the Rachel game plan, get in this majority. But she was never really in the
Hmm.
majority. She was in
No.
the committee, but she was kind of just a Cody minion, which a lot of people were that season.
Yeah.
Which I think was just particularly disappointing from Danny, who we know, like, that's not her.
Like she could have it. Like watching those conversations with her and Cody were some of the most frustrating times of like knowing that he and the rest of the guys he was keeping closer to him and Nicole to an extent were playing her in her face, and she was just kind of going along with it, sending packing the Janelles and Casers of the world early on, where to a certain extent possibly could those have been her numbers, much more so than obviously the people that ended up with her in the house ended up being. So it's tough to like analyze her as a player because while I mean sure she's made deep runs, like she makes the jury or she's facing the jury, and she's got these comp wins. It's like, well, the ultimate goal of Big Brother is to secure the win, and 3 times now in a variety of different ways we've seen her not do that. But does that mean that she could never do that? I would say probably not, but I don't know. Cory, do you have a favorite
Yeah.
era of Danny?
Like 13 is the most fun
I think
Danny
so too.
season. Just her and Kalia, just they had some back-to-back HOHs that were like, come on. It's just such a challenging player to rate. So I think the pros are very clear. 3-time player, made the jury all 3 times, and these aren't like 11-person juries. She's making it deep every time. Day seventh place in
Hmm.
BB22 had to be like day 80 or something. Which
Hmm.
that is very, very difficult. I don't think she had like any win equity in BB13 or 22 post jury, really, unless she wins
Hmm.
every single competition.
Mm-hmm.
And did she ever have win equity on BB8? I definitely don't think so because Dick was not a beloved person on that jury and she got 2 votes. Um, it seems all negative, but it is a lot of data, which we don't have about Haley.
Yeah, I
So
see.
who does better returning
Yeah.
again?
Well, to add on to that, we talked about how the way that we think about these matchups is going to shift, and we'll find different ways to think about it. The way that I'm thinking about it right now is suppose the BB Can 12 style, 2 returnees come back, and it's Haley and it's Danny. And they're going to have their full control over all these newbies, just like happens with returnee seasons. Which one of them gets better control of their newbies and makes it to the end with, that Anthony kind of position or a Paul kind of position? Who is
But
more
that's
able to do that?
it's interesting. I think Danny is more suited to that. I think new players are more likely to flock around Danny. She can be that central house, like hegemon almost. But on like an all-star season, Big Brother All Stars 3, give me Haley every single day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
That's what
think
I
I
think.
agree. I think I definitely, I mean, I don't know, it's so hard because I feel like, we saw her like sort of like go guns blazing with BB13, and then she overcorrected herself on BB22. What do you do upon returning to another season? Is there a happy medium that you can find, or is it sort of like we know everything that Danielle can offer because we've seen it 3 times, and unless it's an all returnee season, I don't think that she does well. So but just by the sheer number of times that she's played, I'm sort
194
of
days in that house.
Gotta be
and
one of the
making
higher
it
numbers.
making it throughout the entire season, getting jury each time is not easy.
Well,
So
let me ask, does anyone feel confident in their vote between Haley and Danny, our first matchup here of this big bracket we've got? Does anyone feel
I
confident?
I feel confident.
Cory, what are you feeling?
I think the answer is Danny. I think ultimately, if they're both on another season, gun to my head, I'm choosing Haley to do better. But I think there is a body of work you have to consider as well. Haley doesn't have that. If we're talking about old school BB, I think Haley would do well, but Danny's provably done well. And new school, Haley won 1 competition. Danny got 7 in a season.
Mhm.
And I've learned at this point to not underestimate comp ability as like a key part of someone's game.
I
Um,
especially today.
yeah, so they're very different kinds of players.
Yeah.
I think they're both gamers at the end of the day. Danny's just like a little bit more of a gamer, which sometimes is not beneficial, but she just has too much of a body of work and she's done too solidly every time. And
Mhm.
Haley just, there's just not enough there.
Haley was part of Faute. Um, Aman, you feel confident in your decision?
Um, yeah. I mean, I think it has to be Danny too. Yeah, only because I think that she just takes control of the house a little better than I think Haley can. I think that Haley probably does a good job upon returning, probably makes it to the end, maybe. But I don't necessarily know if she's as instrumental in progressing, like orchestrating how the season is going to run. And I think that Danielle, through all her faults, sometimes it can be a little bit too much, which gets her in a lot of hot water, gets her out of the house. I still feel like she is going to be a little bit more in the driver's seat more of
Mhm.
the time than Haley would be. So I got to go for
Aman,
Danielle.
can I actually push against that for a second? Because we saw Haley playing at 20.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Danny play at 18, like very young as well. And Danny that first season was not a driving force of anything. That was
No,
probably
she
her most
wasn't.
passive season.
But I do wonder. But she has her dad there, who she's estranged from, so that changes everything about how you're gonna play this game. So I take your point, but like BB8 is so hard to like because you can't divorce it from Dick. So I'm just like without him, I don't like we barely know like the BB13 was the first time that we got to see her without him. And not even because he was there in the beginning and then he left. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. I
as
really
as
don't know.
somebody who watched BB-8, all the years later, and not on the live feeds of it all, it did seem to me that she was aware, even though this is an estranged relationship she has with her father, that
Yeah.
like having him in the game and getting rid of people who are working against him, like Kale comes up as somebody who like came to her and was like, I want to target your dad. Like I think that you'd be so much better off without him here. And her recognizing, okay, lady, you gotta go because he's gonna be my biggest asset and going far in the game, like recognizing that kind of thing. And of course, she's not 100% perfect. Like BB22, we're going to see, a couple of mistakes, BB13 by the end of things there. So, mistakes certainly do happen, but I do think that she has that, couple of gears extra thinking through the process of how she's going to get from point A to B or get to the end of the game, even if it doesn't always work out. That
Yeah.
Haley, at least through her first season, even if you're just comparing BB8 to BB20, just like their first times only, I think the edge goes to Danny. So this is going to end up being a three out of three. No fights yet, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
Tough draw
I
for
was
Haley.
yeah,
It
that was
was
just a tough draw. I don't think there
one
was really much that we could do for that.
one tick below, and we would have gotten BB-8 Zach, who Cory was hoping for, and Haley's going through there, I think. So
Zach had a lot of win equity.
tough draw, but all right, we need some kind of like sound effect for when congratulations to Danny Briones, the first entry into round two
Yeah.
here in this bracket, and
Danielle is leaving the diary room, returning to the house, and Haley is getting
Haley,
escorted
you've been evicted.
offset.
Mm.
If any sad Haley fans out there, as we've teased, there will likely be opportunities to vote people back in at certain points. We'll figure all the
Make your
mechanics
voices
of
heard,
that out.
baby.
But yeah, we'll see if the Haley stands rise up. Let's get to the second round here. Are we ready? Let's do
Ready.
it.
Ready
Who is
spaghetti.
the first name to be picked? The wheel is being spun. The first name of this second matchup. It is going to be, it looks like some BB19 in the mix. It is
Oh,
Mark
yes.
Jansen,
Wow, Cory, you got what you
BB19.
wanted.
My look-alike.
Wow.
Oh
Mark
my
Jansen,
God, you guys see a
please
little bit.
go to the diary
My
room.
official picture looks like a not buff Mark.
I can see it. I can see
Very
it.
odd. That's
Wow.
crazy. I
All right, Mark.
mean,
Aman, what do we have
Is
reminder
it
wise about
Jansen or
how
Jansen?
Jansen? I don't think it's Jansen.
Mike
There's
Jansen.
a there's someone else that has a J that spells her name with a J like that, and it's pronounced Jansen.
I
So I
don't
don't
think it's
really know.
Mark. but I could be
Okay.
wrong. Okay, so we know, BB19, what a wash for every player that's not at least, in the final two, but specifically about Mark, besides him, getting into meatball fights with Josh, what do we have?
Mark is mostly known for his showmance with Elena, for being a physical threat and being emotional. His association with Cody and Jessica made him a target, and he was accused of flip-flopping. He also clashed with Josh by throwing pickle juice and hot sauce in Josh's face. He almost got physical when Josh banged pots and pans in his face. After Elena was evicted, Mark won safety 4 weeks in a row by winning either a POV or temptation comp, but was unable to save himself during week 8.
I mean,
And there
Corey,
it
you're
goes.
you're the BB19 guy here. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not like too far away from you on that. It's we people
Me
used to talk
neither.
about BB9 being like the mess season, but like BB19, the modern mess season,
Different kind of mess.
different mess.
I think we have a lot of pockets in BB19. There's Matt and Raven, there's Jessica and Cody, there's Mark and Elena, there's Josh and Christmas. I think Mark and Elena probably is pound for pound the best of Paul's minions of like this little pocket. I remember Mark had this like relationship with Dominique. I remember that was like, oh my God, look at
Yes.
Mark branching out a little bit. And ultimately that like all that stuff gets you evicted when Paul's running the house. But I think
Mm-hmm.
like I don't want to call Mark like a bright spot of BB19, but
Whoa,
of the cast, it might be a bright spot.
we're
Being
not
a
Okay.
mess, yo. A
goodbye messages
mess.
here, but the fact that speaking of the challenge and people they haven't called, the fact that they never brought the Mark and Josh feud over to the challenge, they just said, "Oh, Josh is good enough." Would have been not
Honestly.
Yeah. I
wouldn't
mean,
have
look,
not been worthwhile.
it's kind of hard to gauge like how much of a like dramatic person Mark is because Josh gets in fights with everybody. Like on the challenge now, like, it could be anybody and he's having a screaming match. So like you don't need Mark for that.
Yeah.
No, Mark was one of the people that I probably enjoyed the most, frequently on the season. He felt like an avatar for the audience a lot of the time because he was always talking about just how much of a mess everything was and just like how crazy the house was. And I felt like he kind of like stayed above the fray. Yes, he got into it, but he got into it with Josh, as Corey just
Mhm.
said, who gets into it with everybody. But he kind of like he tried to find his footing. It didn't work. He wanted to work with Jess and Cody. It didn't work. They were enemy numero uno, which by extension made him enemy numero uno. So it's just, it's kind of similar to like BB22 in a sense, with Cody having such a big, strong hold on the house, with Paul being there and just pretty much running a script for how the evictions were going to go. There really wasn't much that he could do. Like once it was time for Mark to go, it was time for Mark to go. Yes, he saved himself quite a few times, so there's something to be said about that. But his game was mostly talking to Jess, talking to Cody, talking to Dominique. They go bye bye. Then he's on defense for the rest of the time until he goes, and that's his game. That's it.
You know,
He didn't.
I think like he's also a comp beast. And I know like the two POVs doesn't make it seem that way. He won the Den of Temptation like 3 or 4 times to keep himself
Yep.
safe as well.
Yep.
And that's a pretty good season of competitors. Like people are pretty strong there. So like he's always gonna have that. I think that famous jury clip where he's talking to Matt and Raven about how they're not masterminds and Paul's obviously running the house. Mark was in it. He understood
Mm-hmm.
what was happening in the house. It got to a point where it didn't matter and he didn't have the capital or ability to like swing votes to his side. But for the pretty low BB19 bar, I think he did clear it.
He looks like an
Yeah. No,
action
for sure.
figure in this picture.
Yeah.
He
his
does.
his cast photo. And also, I was wrong. The challenge, I completely forgot about this. The challenge did try to get Mark on. They had him as an alternate on the challenge double agents, which would have had him, as the wiki
Ooh.
reminds us, competing alongside Josh, Fessy, Casey, Amber,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as well as Lolo Jones. And we know that he did make his way over to MTV for some X on the Beach alongside Elena, and he was out there with Aubrey O'Day. Like it was a weird run for Mark once he made his way to MTV. But yeah, as far as his Big Brother game is concerned, I thought there was promise there. I feel like I was doing power rankings at the time, and I feel like I usually had him at a higher estimation of than he actually, the results would show. Um, you know, kind of the same excuse that I was giving Haley of had she not been on this cast and with those people, maybe things look different. I don't know that things look too different from what they ended up playing out for Mark. I think he's still going on the show, whether it's then or today, probably looking for the girl like he said he was doing out there. He was looking to go in there and flirt with everybody.
Right.
And you know, I don't know. I don't think he's necessarily somebody that's going into this game, focused on how do I get to the end? How do I win? How do I play the best game possible? He's just kind of like, well, I'll win the comps. I'll keep myself safe. I'll keep my team safe. Very much a team player. Once he makes his team, and when his team falls apart, it's Jess and Cody. It's not going
Yeah.
to work well.
I think that's the problem. I think that I don't think that he does well with when there's like pressure added. I mean, outside of being able to win the comps, I feel like, socially speaking, like if the people that are there if the people that he wants to work with that are not there, it's just a free for all. He's kind of just like floating around. You know what I mean? I feel like he constantly needs companionship, which to be fair, yes, Big Brother is a game where you do need to have allies, but I don't think that he does well when his allies get shaken up and are gone. So
Mhm.
I think I'm slightly higher on Mark than you all, and I think a lot of that is maybe my experience playing with Suri and comparing that to maybe Mark's experience playing with Paul. Because Paul, even more than Suri, had a stranglehold on that season. There was nothing going on that they did not know about.
Yes.
Yep.
And by the time Mark loses basically all of his numbers, there's not much to do. And he still had relationships with Jason. He still, everyone had a relationship with Paul. Again, you simulate this season without Paul, is the majority alliance just Mark, Elena, Jess, Cody, Matt, Raven, and does he get fourth? Like it's very possible.
Yeah.
So all these seasons where you have this like heliocentric returning player, I try to give the other players a little bit more grace.
Because you would think that I
Yeah.
guess without Paul in the house that like Josh is out much
Yeah.
sooner.
Josh was
Christmas was the
supposed to
target.
been
Christmas was the
gone.
target. Recently rewatched the Christmas versus Jessica fight after I think the first time Cody was evicted. Oof, the drama.
Which
Um,
Jessica won, by the way. Just saying.
but yeah, I mean, Mark could have ended up late game in that scenario, without Paul around. I don't know. Maybe I'm just comparing him in like, I don't know, like aesthetics. Ends up like an Adam Jasinski type winner of just like, people don't hate this guy, and he ended up at the end. I don't know.
I
How about
think that's,
this?
yeah.
Is Mark a better Fessy?
Better Fessy,
Yes.
huh?
Yes. I
I feel
believe
like
that
that's the
he is.
same player.
That
Yes, he's
that feels correct.
he definitely he's a bit more cerebral than Fessy is, and that's not me saying that Fessy is dumb, but I just think that Mark actually takes the time to actually think about things before saying them. And Fessy does
Mhm.
not always act that way, at least
Let's
not during BB20.
let's check the 19
All right.
live feeds before we confirm that. I don't remember. All right, let's find out who Mark is matched up against. Are we ready? I
Do
think
it.
we are.
Let's do
We
it.
manifesting anybody in particular? I mean, we can go back to some
Give
BB8,
us
but
Fessy. Let's
let's
do it.
see. Spin the wheel. Wheel is
Let's
spinning
have
for
this
Mark's
conversation.
matchup. Who is facing off against Mark
Oh
Jansen?
my God.
We have
Oh
Yvette,
wow.
Yvette
Big
Corradero.
Brother 6
Interesting.
runner up. Yvette, please go to the diary
Okay.
room.
All right,
Yeah.
let's do some studying on Yvette real quick. Big Brother 6. Here we go. Yvette, known for her loud personality, obsession with Cappy, and her bond with James. Yvette was a member of the Friendship Alliance. Her secret partner in the house was Beau. She and Beau were the last partners left in the game, and Yvette went on to reach the final two along with her ally, Maggie. However, her loyalty to her alliance, as well as her loud and snarky personality, cost her the win in a close 4-3 vote. Yvette was later one of the candidates eligible to be voted into BB7. Yvette, however, did not make it back into the game. And legend has it is that she was also in talks for BB22, but that didn't work out either for
What?
whatever reason. That's the word on the street.
She said some stuff in BB6. That's that is
That
shocking to me.
I don't know how that it's rumors. I don't know how founded they
Yeah.
are, but that was a lot of
Okay.
chatter during the preseason that she was going to be back in that house.
Or you have
But I mean,
fond
I feel
memories
like
of
if you
BB6?
Yeah, I was in the womb. It was
Yeah.
great. No, I was probably what, three or four or something like that. Yvette to me is a player who's in a great alliance and probably was the worst positioned in that alliance. Like Maggie or April's winning that season. It's never going to come down to Yvette or Janelle's going to get to the end, right?
Every preseason we get
Let's call it
like
there.
BB Cruz
Yeah.
announcement.
So Yvette, I mean, Amon, you were calling out right off the bat her horrible answer to the first question of why should Maggie not win this game. I can't tell you any reason.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Yvette just uh, like solid positioning towards the end of the game, but I just don't think that she's like there's no killer instinct with her, right? Like, I mean, I do like the fact that she was full force going after Janelle a lot of the time. But I just feel like she and shout out to Yvette, by the way, for being the first openly gay woman on the show. Um, I just I just feel like I'm always left for wanting when it comes to Yvette, if that makes sense. And I just don't feel like there's like much substance to her game outside of being in the alliance that she was at the bottom of. You know what I mean?
Was she the first openly gay woman? Wait, what was it? Or
I thought so. I thought she was the first open lesbian on the show.
I mean,
No?
as I look into the wiki, I am seeing that she was the first openly LGBT house guest to reach the final two. Um, but I don't know.
So who was Fruity before her? I can't remember.
I don't remember. But
Did you
there's
someone from
also
BB1?
there's
What's her name from BB1?
what a callback. Brittany?
I don't know. America and I were talking about it. America, whatever.
What the lower third of Yvette saying she's
Yeah,
gay is
I forgot
wild.
about that.
classic.
Is wild.
Wow.
Um,
BBS is they were never going to see heaven.
but Corey, what were you saying about her game like being in the shadows?
Well, I think that's almost generous because that implies like she's like manipulating things behind the scenes and she's got her hand in all these pots. I think she was in a majority alliance where she was going to be the one dragged to the end for the most part, which I don't think that's a good spot to be. It's a fine spot to be as long as you have one winning outcome,
Hmm.
right? Like Bowie Jane is screwed the entire game, but if she gets to the end against Felicia, she wins. Like so, like if you have one out, I'm okay with you going for that out. I don't think Yvette had any out. I think for most of BB6, it felt like April was positioned to win, and if not April, it was going to be Maggie, and if not Maggie, it was Janelle comping out. I don't see the path for Yvette, but was there a path for Mark? No, absolutely not. So I think you have to give Yvette credit for longevity, credit for being in a majority alliance and not screwing it up. But as for like active gameplay, again, I'm not watching the feeds. I don't have many flowers to give her.
Yeah. Sort
Yeah,
of a big like nothing burger when it comes to her game,
I
to be
kind of
honest.
wonder, as we were talking about earlier, if both of these players were coming back, BB27 All Stars, and I say that because BB26, I think we are led to believe would not be All Stars at this point. Um, who, Amon, who are you're always struggling to think of who to draft. Who are you drafting first? Yvette 2.0 or Mark 2.0?
Well, definitely Mark 2.0 because I feel like
Definitely
he
Mark.
just yeah, for sure. I think that he just has a better like head for like how the game is played and with the comp wins, I think that he is going into another season of Big Brother with more tools to do well, whereas I feel like with Yvette, on top of the fact that she probably wouldn't be asked back anymore considering what Cory was just talking about earlier, I don't really see her doing too well in additional season.
So your
So
vote's for Mark.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and say Mark. I think I can get rid of that here.
All right, well, I'm gonna jump in next, in front of you, Corey, because I'm going to vet. Um, which feels perfect. So we can finally get a bit of a split decision here. And I'm not doing that just for the split decision. I felt a little bit more compelled to the person who, worked with a um, active alliance, actively successful enough alliance that got them to the end. Obviously pitched her wagon to the right person in Maggie to get as far as she did. Sure, watching some of those jury answers, we don't get some of the best best answers. But when I think of, Mark in that same situation, do I think he's giving the best answers? I don't. I think that both of them could have some potential on a round two, but like I was saying about Mark earlier, I just kind of feel like he's never going to come into this game, focused on the win. And I feel like Yvette could take from what she did the first time around, um, all of these years watching sense, and maybe play a better game than Mark would this time around. So my vote's Yvette.
Okay, so this puts me in a tough spot. I
Mhm.
think because it really is up in the air. I think you could look at Mark for the upside that he has probably over Yvette, but Yvette obviously, I think she makes it far in most seasons. There's no reason to get rid of Yvette early. Um, and I apologize for keep going back for my season, but I think it's very instructive
Please
how
do.
I view the game.
Yeah.
When you consider a player like Jag, who was in a terrible position for the first half of the game and played terribly the first half of the game, like really bad, generationally bad. In the second half of the game, he's in a solid majority alliance, is well connected, makes a ton of mistakes, but seems like a pretty competent to good player in the second half. A lot of that's comp wins, but that's a part of the game. And then you consider these two players. Yvette was in a great spot, was always in a majority alliance. Even when the other side wins, she's not being targeted because she's not that big of a threat. Maybe you give her credit for having better relationships with the other side of the house than a Jennifer and a Maggie. So maybe that's actually a point in her favor. So she's in a great spot and does how she does. She gets to the final two, has no chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
Mark is in a really bad position, is on the wrong side of the house, shows a lot of fight, does pretty well given that position. How does he do in a great position? I have no idea. I walked into this kind of rambling monologue thinking I'm voting for Mark. But the more I think about it, I think you have to give Yvette credit for, because despite all of the bullshit she would say in the house, and there was a lot of it, she was
A lot.
pretty okay with the Sovereign Six relative to the rest of her alliance.
Yeah,
She
there
was by no
was.
means playing the middle, but
I feel like there was a
wasn't
bridge
bad.
there. There was enough,
Yeah,
to the point where Janelle's like, making this comment at the right there, being like, you made the wrong decision, thinking that there's a world where they had some kind of established
yeah.
relationship enough that she would have thought to take Janelle, and not just because, you know, just thinking that that could have been a possibility.
I'm someone who I think I really like to separate ability from circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and think that is basically what this debate is. And if the way we're discussing this is who would I pick in another season, it would 100% be Mark. I think that is the answer. I think it's Mark, but I feel ridiculous saying that given Mark didn't give us much, but neither did Yvette.
I want to say you opened this podcast talking BB19, saying who's going through from that season, maybe two people, and now it might be three.
Here's the problem. It is also a reality of what seasons are we more familiar with, because I can't
That's
give
fair.
Yvette the same benefit of the doubt I can Mark, because I don't
Yeah.
know what the fuck Yvette was doing on the feeds.
Yeah.
I remember someone earlier this year posted like the unedited clip of that huge fight in the backyard
Oh
between
yeah,
Yvette and Kaser and all them.
you can find if you do some digging, you can find some stuff. You can
Here's
find
what
some
I'll
stuff.
say. I have a tiebreaker, and the tiebreaker is stupid shit you said in the house. And Yvette loses that one. So
Wow.
I'm gonna go with Mark.
All right.
Woo!
Mark
Okay.
Jansen
Tiebreaker.
sees round two, Yvette, the runner-up of Big Brother 6,
Damn. I feel
staying
like people are gonna
behind.
have an issue with that when this episode
I
drops.
would love to know. I mean, it was a tough battle.
And they clearly stand by everything Yvette said if they have that opinion. So
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
except for me that voted for her.
yes.
But okay. Mark Jansen sees round two. Whoever would have predicted that? But
I didn't.
I think it's about time that we begin our third and final matchup here and get our first name going of who's going to be involved there. Let's give this wheel a spin and pull a name. See where we're going now. It
Mark's
is
going to
going
round
to
three
be.
if I have anything to say about it.
It is
Oh boy.
some Big Brother
Danielle
over the top.
We're over
Licky.
the top and
Wow. Okay.
BBOTT Danielle Licky.
yeah.
The physical embodiment of you had to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Danielle Licky, one of the strongest physical and mental house guests of the season. Danielle quickly found herself targeted, being nominated the first 3 weeks. After her showmance Shane's eviction in week 3, she won 2 HOHs and 1 POV, was a part of several fights, and ran the game alongside with Jason for several weeks. After considering sending home her alliance member Justin during her reign as HOH, he and Chrissy chose to evict her the following week when she found herself nominated alongside Jason by Shelby, placing 6th. The Danielle love was strong on the late night jamboree side of things. They could not get enough of Danielle. She was seen as this like ultra fierce femme fatale comp beast queen, not afraid to stick it to the other side of the house, getting in open fights with Monty, with Scott, with the ball smashers, and even sometimes with her own alliance members. Like, she didn't give a damn. And I think that she was a lot of fun to watch.
Corey, the things that we remember about Danielle, do you feel like if we ever saw her again, she'd have a good run?
I think she kind of screams replacement level to me.
Okay.
Good competitor, which is very important nowadays. I think she's always going to be one of those people who's going to have her people in the house, and also her people who do not like her, which could work out if you're on the right side. I do fear that she's kind of the opposite of Yvette in a lot of ways, where she'll always be one of the first people to go from her side, because of how threatening she is comp wise, and because she's a little bit more willing to get into it, like argument wise.
Mhm.
What I remember about her game, so she won an HOH, nominated 2 of the Ball Smashers, and then remember America was nominating people in this show. So, and then she gets screwed out of there, and then she nominates Justin the next time, which I think is ultimately probably her biggest mistake. I think it's hard to judge OTT competitors, but just based on like personality and what we saw, I think she might be like a Danielle Donato season 13 kind of vibe a lot of the time, where she's just gonna go out in that early jury phase.
I can see that. I think she's never really going to not be able to stand out. Yeah, I think that she's always going to be a player that's kind of uh, and like I think Danny's actually a really good example. Just somebody that is, even if they are playing relatively well, you're always going to know that the Danielle, well, I guess it's just a cursed name, is in the house, and this is not somebody that we can let get too far, because they will have control of the game in a way that prevents me from being able to go far as somebody that's not them. But yeah, she has some comp wins here. Obviously, we're talking over the top, which is not Big Brother US proper. A lot of these players, or at least a handful of them, it would have been great to see them get a shot in a regular season. Danielle's, your Morgan's, Alex's, Shelby's, Chrissy. I'm sure people wanted to see Chrissy in the main season. So,
I mean, it's interesting because she was one of the few like fans of the show on this season. Cornbread was a cast grab. Same with Monty. Same with Shane. Same with Neely. Scott was a super fan. Alex was a super fan. Whitney was a cast grab. Danielle super fan. Shelby cast grab. Justin, I don't know. They went down to the depths of New Orleans to find his ass. Chrissy, they found her in a restaurant. Jason, we all know the story behind him. And Morgan, by some extension from her sister, must be a fan of the show. So I feel like her like competing with other like more people that are like actual fans of the show, I think that she does a lot better. I think that like her worth and her value increase if she's placed with people that know the game a bit more. Which is why I feel like her and Jason got along so well, is because they were both big fans of the show. They both, sort of saw the game in a similar way. And of course, with the name recognition of Jason, I think that she knew the value in instantly attaching herself to him. So I think beginning of the game instincts are good on Danielle. I do think that there is a bit of like this unabashed energy that she has, where she's like, I'm not afraid to like do anything to like let my opinions be known. And like, that's not always the greatest. And I think that like that kind of behavior was only emblazoned by the fact that like America was like clearly watching and voting. So I feel like there's like so many performative aspects about BBOTT contestants that are kind of hard to judge. But I do think that if I saw Danielle come back, I think that she has a pretty good shot. I agree with you, Corey, that I feel like she's kind of in like that Danielle Donato Briones kind of space, where You know, I feel like if she finds her group of people and like bunkers down, I think that she can do some damage. I think that it's just about like a little bit of self-control and a little bit of editing.
And
And I think that
she's
she's
if she has been watching all these years, which I think she has, and Amon, you seem to feel the same. I feel like we've seen tweets from her pop up from time to time. If she's keeping up to this day, and probably has just thought through her experience a
she's
lot.
mentioned in the past about how much she really wanted to be like on a regular season. I mean, obviously she took the chance to get on OTT because who would say no? But like she really wants to try the real game. BB proper.
I would have a decent amount of faith in her. Maybe not, the most of the five. I don't know if she'd be top half of this 532, but she's certainly not, guaranteed bottom half for me.
Yeah.
Gotta
So,
have top half.
um, but yeah, unless we have anything else on Danielle, we can find out who she is going to be up against in this wheel spin here. Are we ready to find out the last person
Oh
of
my
this
god.
Let's do
inaugural
it.
set of matchups? Who
What's it
are
gonna
we
be?
getting? Let's find out. The wheel is in motion here. Danielle Licky is
No
going to be up
pre-juror somewhere.
against.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
true.
Oh my
I
God.
think you jinxed it. Jillian
Jillian.
Parker. Back to the
Damn, you
BB19. Well,
really got your
BB19
BB19 shit in here. I love
twice
that.
I
in
did not mean
one
Jillian
episode.
Parker.
Well, please go to the diary room, Jillian.
Jillian Parker.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Every time I think about Jillian, I just laugh because she really went through the ringer. Okay. Jillian immediately was put in danger by losing the hit the road comp, leaving her automatically nominated. Able to survive eviction, albeit with 3 votes against her. She was then nominated again as a pawn by Cody Nixon in his attempt to evict Megan Louder. However, after Megan walked from the game, Jillian was put back into danger, and after Cody was unable to name Paul Abrahamian as a replacement nominee due to the pendant of protection, he decided to nominate Christmas Abbott next to Jillian, angering the majority of the House. To send a message to Cody, the majority of the House wanted to keep his target Christmas in the game, thus targeting Jillian, and ultimately leading to Jillian's eviction by an 8-4 vote. Jillian had a chance to return to the game via the Battleback comp, but lost in the first round.
I'm extremely, extremely empathetic to Jillian as someone who lost a night one comp, as someone who was on the block as a result. The thing about Jillian, though, is one of the great casting enigmas, I think, of like, I don't know what the vision was in terms of like, what was Jillian's upside? Forget about as a character, but as a player, just like social butterfly who, I don't know.
Her whole intro package is about the fact that she went down to Tijuana with her family to get weight loss surgery. That was everything we knew about her. She had like at least 3 DRs about it. Like, I don't know. I don't know if someone on production was going through a weight loss journey of their own and it resonated with them. No shame in the game. I'm not putting anybody off of weight loss,
Yeah.
but that seems to be the only thing that they wanted to talk to her about. And then she just ends up on the block 3 times. Like, and that was it. That was it.
Yeah. What a rough go. I mean, our first early pull here, right, of the bracket. So I'm going to be interested when we get to a lot of these early boots because there are some that I would say had a lot of potential. I don't know if Jillian falls into that category for me. One of the off-season podcasts that I think we did before BB25 was it was like a first boots draft, I think, and I'm pretty sure that I was on it. So Jillian, I think, came up as the technical first boot of that season because of the way that they
Oh yeah.
determined what a first boot
Yeah.
was. So I don't remember exactly like where she went in that draft, but like, I mean, from what we saw there, I certainly do not have the most confidence in a future appearance by Jillian if that magical day for her ever were to come. It felt like an interestingly inspired casting choice, and given how things shook out for her, yeah.
It
So
sucks that she ended up blindsided as well when she got evicted. It's like, girl, like not only are you on the block, literally since you walk into the house, but then
mhm.
you spend like 16 days on the block and you're still blindsided by going home. Like, I just not a like there's nothing to her game because it was nothing but block, So it's like
Nothing but
it's like
block.
nothing but
Yeah,
block.
well, I think the biggest benefit you have to give Jillian is not particularly responsible in her own eviction. Like she
No,
didn't screw anything
not at
up
all.
dramatically. But I do think like
No,
I don't know, what's
production
your
screwed
biggest
her.
mistake? Having not getting Cody to put up the right person next to her, but who is the right person?
But but
Like if it
Paul
was
was the right person. That's the thing. He was the
no,
right person. They were the right
but
person to put up.
Paul stays over Jillian.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not.
I mean,
I think that there is a
not in the
world in which.
BB19 cast. Does he go home
Yeah.
there? Or,
But remember, this was like at the beginning. This was before he really got his claws deep. They, excuse me, got their claws deep into everyone. I think that there is still a world in which if Paul doesn't have that pendant and winds up on that block and Cody does some campaigning alongside Jess, alongside Jillian, there's definitely a world that's like, y'all, he got to final two. A week of that, Paul could leave that house for sure. But there was
I
never
think
any chance of that because of the pendant.
friendship bracelets hurt that a lot though. Where
Friendship
Paul
bracelets
already has
and
so
pendant
many.
of protection. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a world in which Paul goes. I do.
she has the
At the
stat
beginning
of
at least.
being the first house guest to be nominated alongside 4 different house guests before eviction night. I mean, who else would have that?
It's
Yeah.
unique. Well, maybe Battle of the Block people, they would count that.
I
Probably
think what
not
it comes
4.
down to when I'm talking about Jillian's game and I'm trying to give her like some credit is like, how do I feel about her negotiating herself off the block? And from what I can tell, again, how most of this is not her fault, her predicament, but there was a bit of a I'm going to kick my feet up energy. She did that thing with Megan because Megan was the clear person to go out, which fair, but still you want to you want to maintain relationships and still campaign in your own right. And then she kind of did the same thing when it came to like the whole Paul situation. So it's like you're on the block, sis. Like it's not your fault that you're on the block, but you still have to do something to get off. So that to me, who's better at negotiating themselves off the block, in my opinion, Jillian or Danielle? And
Or
I
do you
feel
know
like the
which way
way
you're
I'm
leaning
leaning
on this
towards
one?
Danielle.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amon.
Oh,
What'd you
it's
say? I
tough.
think Amon said he's
I
leaning
would just,
towards Danielle.
I think I'm leaning towards Danielle on this one.
Uh, yeah, it's Danielle. I think it's Danielle. It's not particularly close. Like Jillian could be the best player of all time, and we just don't have the opportunity to see it.
Hmm.
I'll give her credit. She got votes to stay. It was 8-4.
She
That's
did.
look. No one on BB25 got 4 votes to stay. So that's nice to see. But I think Danielle makes a run to sixth, showing herself to be a comp beast. Socially, every metric you could say, I give Danielle the bump over Jillian.
We have the opportunity to do something very funny here and send 2 Big Brother 19 house guests through in this very podcast. Just saying. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think I'm making it 3 for 3 if Amon's officially putting his Danielle vote down. And I do think that we may end up in a world where some of these early boots could surprise us along the way and make their way to round 2, especially if they're up against another, early boot. Who knows? Jillian, I don't think is going to be the first person to break that mold, though. Well, I definitely don't think so because the votes have been coming in. I think Danielle is certainly the stronger player of the two, and I would have a lot more faith in her in a return appearance. So there it is, Amon. Danielle goes through, and to round up what we have concluded today, we have an insane first matchup as Danny Donato Briones defeated Haley from BB20. Haley staying
Mhm.
behind in round 1. Danny going through. Mark Jensen, in a 2-1 vote, made his way through to the second round, while Yvette, our Big Brother 6 runner up, is staying behind. And Danielle Licky, our Big Brother over the top representative of the episode, going through to the next round, while Jillian Parker, on the block so many times, or sorry, on the block against so many people, is also on the block and also evicted very early in this competition as well. So,
Wow,
No,
two Danielles making it through.
I think it should be stated the volatility of this format, which is what makes it really fun. Of like, I think Haley is the second best player we talked about today.
Yeah.
But she was matched up against the best player we talked about today.
mhm.
So that's gonna happen. We're gonna lose people who don't deserve to be lost there, but them's the breaks, I guess.
Yeah. And again, if there's the Haley voters out there that are looking to get her back in the competition, we certainly not just yet. We just getting started here, but eventually you'll be able to get some people back in. But for now, Cory, thank you so much for joining us for this first episode. What a pleasure for us to
Yes.
have you here. With you may underestimate sometimes your Big Brother knowledge, but you've got it. And the Twitch streams are always fun to check out. So thank you again for joining us, and please let everybody know where they can find those Twitch streams and anything else you have going on.
Sure. Twitch.tv/Cory Wurtenberger. America and I have our Patreon, patreon.com/AmeriCory, podcast. She has her book club. We're watching BB25 for the first time. We're kind of at the point of no return. We just watched Zombie Week.
Okay.
Maybe now is not the perfect time to check in.
Ooh,
But
rough.
yeah, that's what I'm doing. And all I want you guys to do specifically is just, remember how graceful I was in doing this podcast when you guys get my name on the wheel.
Well, if you had some fun today, I'm hoping you'll come back with us and we will
Of
get some
course.
BB25 the next time around and maybe even get you live on
Love to see it.
but
See.
yes, we're going to be talking some BB26 over the course of the summer on Twitch.
100%.
Popping in on
Can't
our
wait.
HAP once or twice. So
Oh, yeah.
awesome. Can't wait. Everybody check out Cory and everything that Cory and America have going on if you are not already. Aman, what do you have going on?
You can follow me everywhere at Amon Adwin. I am here for the next foreseeable few years doing this podcast. I'm also still covering the ninth season of All Stars for Drag Race over in the RHAP Wrap-Ups. And always you can catch me over at RHAP this entire summer talking about Big Brother 26. So
Yes, there we go.
that's for me.
Big Brother 26 coming up. Hopefully we'll both be hopping in and out of some of the coverage over there, as well as check out for me the Free Agents podcast, talking the challenge and so much more, as the challenge season 40 is set to premiere in but a month and change, a month and a half or so over there. So the Free Agents podcast for all of that. And I'm on Twitter at Matt Lagori. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Diary Room PCast. What a great handle we have there. What we would really, 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 really appreciate at this point in our young podcast career here for this podcast is, first of all, subscribe on YouTube. Anytime, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button. I think that does some things to help out. Who could say? If you're subscribing over on Spotify or Apple, subscribe, please leave some 5-star ratings and reviews. They are super important as a podcast is first beginning, so that people know that people are interested, and it helps to boost it enough to get people interested to come check it out. So please help us out with that at the very least if you can. If you have a minute to go write a little review and press that 5 stars, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Am I forgetting anything, Amon?
Hey, we already cracked over 100 subscribers in our first day on YouTube. So hey, get in there so you can be the first 1,000.
What
But
a
no,
good
I
goal.
think you nailed it.
All right, so
Subscribe on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Like the video if you're watching. Leave your reviews wherever you can, and we'll be here.
yeah,
We will
let
be
us know
here.
what you think of the matchups. I would imagine that we will probably do some Twitter polls to ask you all what you think between the 3 of these matchups and see, if the results match with what ended up happening here, or if not, we'll talk about it on the next episode. So we have another great guest coming up next week. We'll be back then. Until then, thank you all for checking out this one. Do all those things if you can to help us out. In the meantime, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed. And until then, please go to the diary room.